Hi, I'm Chuck Gibson. This is Loveland Beacon Talks. Today we're talking about a special place for families with minor and grown children with disabilities. Augies Adventures is that place. This nonprofit support group for special needs families is celebrating their 1-year anniversary. It is the culmination of a lot of hard work and realization of a vision for our guest today. It is my pleasure to welcome Heidi Terselic to Loveland Beacon Talks. Welcome, Heidi Terselic.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here on Loveland Beacon Talks.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And for our listeners, Heidi Terselic is the founder and president of Augies Adventures. Some of you have read a little bit about it on Loveland Beacon and maybe heard of it elsewhere. But today, this is kind of a special time right now. Augies Adventures just launched a year ago, and so you're celebrating 1 year of Augies Adventures. Congratulations.
Yes, we are. Thank you very much. It's been an exciting year. It marks 1 whole year of hosting our parent support group. And what that involves is we meet October through May during the school year on the third Thursday of the month. And it's from 6:30 to 8:30. And that's at St. Columban. They have graciously offered us 2 meeting spaces in their parish hall. And one of them is where the parents meet, and we host guest speakers during that time. And then right next door, we have the convenience of a care room for the children of the parents who are attending. And it's a really big deal because it removes the obstacle of them having to find care for their children with disabilities. The other thing that is unique is we offer care and supervision for not just the minor children that have disabilities, but also the ones that are grown. We have parents in the area who are still raising grown children with disabilities, and that's often an overlooked population. So we try to get the word out that it's for them as well. And parents should know that their siblings of their children are also watched in that room during that 2-hour meeting.
Perfect. Well, and so that's a hint at what we're talking about. But let's go back for somebody who isn't really familiar yet with Augies Adventures, although, again, congratulations on being a year into it. But for newcomers saying, what is Augies Adventures? So your thumbnail sketch, what is Augies Adventures? And I want you to also share, the vision and the development of what it is. But real quick, thumbnail sketch, what is Augies Adventures? And then let's talk about how it got started.
Yes, so kind of go back to the beginning. Augies Adventures is named after our son, Augie, who's 17. He has Down syndrome. We were inspired to start a parent support group because we are just aware that there are so many needs for parents when they're raising children with disabilities. And by the way, we serve all different disabilities. I
was going to say right away,
syndrome.
Augie is Down syndrome, but this is not just families of Down syndrome children or Down syndrome adults, as you mentioned, because it goes beyond the children. All different disabilities.
That's correct.
Who you're trying to serve.
That is correct. Yeah. Probably one of the most probably the most common things people would be aware of is Down syndrome or autism, but we serve all kinds of families that have chromosomal disorders, all kinds of disabilities that have names that people don't even recognize, which is so important because where are their people? They're us. This group welcomes them because maybe they have such a rare disorder or disability that they can't connect in person with someone who has the exact same scenario. So we did not want to limit ourselves. We definitely knew there's a need for all of them, and there are so many areas that overlap, whether it's therapy needs or social issues. And so we know that we need to have a wide open door to all of these things so that all these families can find a home with us and find support.
Well, support for the parents, but support for those who are the autistic or the Down syndrome or the disabled person.
Yeah.
In terms of Augies Adventures. Let's get into the adventures part for a little bit and then go back to the support
definitely. So we not only offer the meetings, like I said, once per month, October through May, with the exception we do take a break in December for the holidays. But we also decided that as a family, we needed to look for a special property that might offer some acreage and some amenities, because we saw that there's a need to have special needs families come together and recreate and find respite and relaxation together. Because a lot of times, other typical things, maybe it's Kings Island or maybe it's a park. Some of those things can accommodate, and they've come a long way, whether it's equipment or, accommodations. But a lot of times we have special needs families that it becomes kind of exhausting at times, being the exception to the rule, and sometimes they are not as welcomed as every typical family that comes through. And so we wanted to offer, as a family, on our own private property, we wanted to have open invitations to them and say, come on and let's gather together with other like-minded special needs families, people that get this, where you don't have to apologize because maybe your child makes loud vocalizations and other people just kind of, stare and are really made to feel uncomfortable, and then you feel uncomfortable because that's your child making that sound.
Well, and for the listeners right now, if you could see Heidi right now demonstrating, and that's exactly what we see, is those people tensing up.
Yes.
It's like, why is that child yelling? Or,
yes.
or just like you said, staring. And you know what? Guilty myself. I mean, you see somebody different, and all of a sudden you catch yourself staring.
Yes.
And maybe you don't like a sudden outburst, and you don't even realize that. Well, this is a problem only for you.
Yeah.
I mean, really, truth be told,
yes.
It's my problem that I can't deal with somebody's outburst, but that family,
yes,
is dealing with that.
They deal with it 24/7.
And this is where Augies Adventures really comes in terms of the support. Now that it can happen in a more comfortable environment where people, but also where you give that, as you said, I love that, respite.
Yes.
For the family.
Yes. And one of the big pieces that allows us to do that is at the heart of everything we do, we look for ways to have inclusion. And I know that term is thrown around a lot. Let me give a few examples of that. When we hosted this summer, we had a couple different events where we had open invitations to families that had any type of disability. It's not just that we want them to come out here. It's also a time when we invite local high schoolers to come on out and be mentors. And the whole point is they come on out to engage the kids with the disabilities as well as the siblings of those kids. And it allows the parents to actually sit down and enjoy their lunch in a poolside chair while these kids are splashing around in the pool, and the parent doesn't have to shadow them every moment. I often use the example of our 17-year-old son. It's what teenage boy is going to say, boy, the coolest thing ever is I can hang with mom and dad all day in the pool. Come on. That is not the ideal situation. So he and all of these other kids we've noticed really come to life when it's the peers that are engaging them. And again, there's that modeling going on for turn taking and speech and social graces like manners and things like that. When they can engage on our basketball court or our trampoline or our pickleball court or in our pool, they're doing those things together like all other types of adolescents and teens. And we do have young children as well, but I'm just utilizing those groups as an example. Yeah. The inclusion is such a pivotal piece of what brings these kids to life, the joy that happens. And the parents actually can sit back and enjoy their meal without chasing a child. And they can actually have adult conversation with another parent who gets it. Yeah. So we can be real, and we don't need to apologize for all of there are awkward things with special needs. There are annoying things that happens with special needs. And that's okay, because we can just throw it all out there. We can vent to each other on our worst days. And we get it. We don't need to feel like ashamed because, hey, I had a really rotten day. There were a lot of behaviors that came out in my kid, and I think, oh my gosh, for the 10th time we're dealing with this, and I'm beating my head against the wall, right?
Well, no, you and I shared one, with an experience that I was talking about with a family, and by my estimation, their autistic son. Mm-hmm. And I could see that that level of tension and that level of frustration
Yes.
for the mom and dad. And,
Yes.
in the short time I'm exchanging, and it comes to mind that this is like 24/7
Yes.
for the family.
Yes, and they can't clock out a lot of times. And
Right.
if you don't have family support nearby, or you don't have willing family support, you are on your own. It is very, very rare to actually get to clock out, put your feet up, enjoy a meal without interruption, enjoy a conversation without some, an urgent need, whether it's a bathroom issue or behavior meltdown or whatever. So what we're trying to do through Augies Adventures is, bring great guest speakers in to help educate about resources and helpful tips for how to make their lives easier. And then when we do have the recreation events on our property, we can just see it in the people when they're here, when they actually can relax and enjoy themselves and not be, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous that my kid is going to do this and I have to be the shadow behind them, or I have to keep a hand on them the entire time, it was just wonderful to see parents. I snapped some pictures of parents. I caught them playing where, like down in our recreation room, some of them were relaxing in the AC and they were playing checkers or something. And it's so rare because they're just so used to, we can't do anything fun just as adults here. We have to be on 150%, literally hands on our child to keep them occupied and safe and whatever. But here we've got people that come, volunteers that come in to help. And it doesn't feel like, it's not like a babysitting feel. It's an interactive, stay engaged, It could be a few teenagers on the trampoline with kids from 5 to 12 years old on there with them. It could be a bunch of, teenage guys on the basketball court here on our property. And they just feel like they're peers hanging out. Yeah. It doesn't feel like a babysitting thing.
Well, I think one of the unique aspects also, you're sort of touching on it, is the fact that like when you had the open house events during the summer, and not just for the families and the affected, but, inviting like the high school kids to come and be a part of it. It's creating a generation of understanding. Yeah. Don't you think?
Yeah. Yes. Oh my gosh, the compassion. And I do have to put a plug in here too for the group that has partnered and given so much support to us with during our meetings at the church. The Mothers of Preschoolers group from Prince of Peace Lutheran Church. Those women, the mothers in that group, have really stepped up, and they have made it a regular thing that they try to volunteer during our meetings. They see that if they bring their children and their husbands along to that room, that their families are benefiting. Their kids are getting it. They're understanding how to be patient, compassionate. It's like all the old school staring and covering their mouths because they're going to ask this embarrassing question thing. All of that is eliminated because they get in there and they see it truly is, it's the case, the more alike than different, like the slogan that the National Down Syndrome Group used for a long time. It really rings true. When you get in there, you see them playing with things and listening to music together and just playing with the train on the floor if it's a preschooler, or even we've got, a 12-year-old with autism, that's the developmental level. He's playing with the train on the floor. Then you get, these families that get in there and mingle and have snacks with these kids, and it's just a natural, it doesn't matter that this one has a diagnosis and this child doesn't. They're just playing. They're just having a good time.
Well, wouldn't we, and all kidding aside, I say this with all seriousness, wouldn't we all do well to be like 10-year-olds again?
Yeah.
Or 5, getting down on the floor and playing.
Just for the joy of it.
Oh my
Instead
gosh.
of super analyzing and assessing what's different, what's the same, all this. Yeah. And I'm sure these families
take
do
the
come
adult
in.
hat off.
True.
For a moment and
True.
just relax. And it sounds like you're seeing that.
We are. And you know what else? I know that these families also have conversations outside of the meetings themselves. And that's fine too. That's the educational piece. They're saying, hey, did you have a good time? What'd you learn this time? And I've heard some of those conversations after where the parents say, oh my gosh, my son can't wait to go back He says, "Can we volunteer again? This is cool. This is fun." Are you kidding me? These are kids saying it's cool and it's fun. And think about that. In previous generations, these kids didn't even cross
They just stared. No, they just stared.
Yes.
They saw them in public and they stared.
It was staring. It was, they were on a different campus across town. They were in a different wing of the building and they didn't, so this is just amazing how it's just a culture that grows and it becomes easier and easier as we have these.
Well, I like that mantra, more alike than different.
Yeah.
And I won't get into a whole political discussion of what upsets me about this thing called diversity, because it's about differences. Well, I get, let's embrace differences.
Right.
But it is about we are all more alike than different.
Yes.
And this is a
human beings are about, we all want to feel understood, we all want to feel included, we all want to experience joy. In a way.
Amen to that.
I mean, that's the goal here.
So, it's a lot to digest, a lot to absorb. You went through a lot. If I asked you, we're going to move forward too, but if I asked you to say, so Augies Adventures has a mission statement that maybe helps in a sentence or two, however you have that, define Augies Adventures. What's that mission statement? You got that handy? I put you on the spot here.
Well, I would say, and I don't have it exactly how we probably have it worded on our website, but I would say our goal is to be welcoming of all families with all different types of disabilities in an effort to put a stop to the isolation, the loneliness. To make them feel like there's a place for them, whether it's the parents or it's the children. And the inclusion thing is so critically important. And, it's just, we know that by creating recreation types of events on our property or in, the play scenarios during our parent meetings, the whole goal is to have that naturally inclusive environment where these kids thrive because of all of the modeling and all of it's practice for both the typical child and the special needs child to practice life skills. How do we engage future jobs? We're going to see each other there, and, in employment situations, at the park, at the grocery store, whatever. Yeah. These are lessons for life, and so that's our goal through all of these activities.
This is a great place to insert, and we'll do it again when we wrap up here in 15 minutes or so. But whatever it is, this is a good place to insert
AugiesAdventures1242.org.
Augies Adventures, all one word. Yes. 1242, still part of that one word.
.org. Yes, all please look us up. I did want to make sure that I mention our upcoming meeting is November the 16th. As I said before, it's the third Thursday of the month from October through May with a break in December. So this coming Thursday on the 16th, we have what's called On Your Mark, Get Off Those Screens, Go. We are blessed to have a 30-year educator. She is Ohio's 2022 Adapted PE Teacher of the Year. She is Ms. Regine Connor, and she is going to talk about a couple of things. One is she will be explaining why adapted PE class is something that every district should be offering.
I'm going to toss something in real quick, too. So I met Regine at your first meeting a year ago.
Okay.
And this is just Chuck tossing this in as a plug. She is a dynamo.
Yes.
If you come to the meeting this coming Thursday, the 16th, if for no other reason than to hear and to meet Regine. Now, you can continue on bragging about yourself, but she's fantastic.
She is fantastic. In a nutshell, her adapted PE class is so innovative because what she does is she doesn't just adapt activities for the variety of special needs students that she has in grades 5 through 12. She also has a mentor program that she has built into it. And that means she has typical students who, in essence, apply to be in her class. And at the high school level, what it ends up being is kids who are interested in pursuing fields like the therapy fields, fields like social work, even pre-med, all kinds of just the fields that are related to dealing with people with special needs, they get top priority when they apply for this because they are learning the practical skills that they will use later in life in these types of careers.
It was fascinating talking to her and having her talk about that aspect of what she's doing. It's just amazing.
It's incredible. Yeah. I mean, these kids motivate the kids with special needs. It's the whole thing. It's mirrored again in every recreational thing that we do with them. And that's what Ray Jean and I are so similar in our vision for what makes these kids thrive. And that's why we clicked so much when we met. The other thing that she's going to do is she is going to talk about, let's end the couch potato, issue at home. Get your kids off those screens, get them up and moving. And this is the thing about this talk. It is not just for parents of special needs kids. This is an overlap area. Yeah. This is an epidemic.
Yeah, how do we get our kids off of the...
Yes, get off the screens, right?
Whatever device you're on.
Yes, so she is going to be talking about all kinds of ideas to get them up and moving. She feels like fitness delivers health benefits, fosters inclusion. She knows that it encourages socialization. And let's face it, those are not exclusive to, kids with special needs. We have a lot of kids who could benefit from a little kick in the pants to get off that couch and do more. So.
Well, Heidi, with Augie at 17, you've been there, done that for all the years. You recognized this as a need.
Yes.
And you sold yourself. I don't want to let you sell yourself a little short. You kind of skipped over. Here you are at this property.
Yes.
Which was, when you're here in this home, on this property, for this reason.
Yeah.
When you, how would you describe it? I know we were talking before we went on the air, so to speak, about you had a home.
Yes. Yes. So my husband and I, we make a long story short, we've lived in a lot of states. We actually lived in Quebec, Canada for a while. We've moved a lot for Mike's job. So when we came here, we wanted a family-friendly neighborhood, and we found that in Loveland. We were living in Miami Trails, a beautiful neighborhood. But we also found in our several years living there that because of an HOA situation, we were limited in when it came to what kind of amenities we could offer our son to keep him up and active, where I could supervise him on the property. And so we realized that while we loved Miami Trails, we needed to think bigger and beyond what you can offer in an HOA situation. And so we started looking for, hey, what's a property, in Loveland, because Loveland schools are phenomenal for inclusion. So we definitely knew that, hey, we're here to stay, but we need these amenities in town. And so when we came across this property, it had 19 acres on it, everything from grassy, wide open fields to play ball on to there are ATV trails and a stream and woods. And then when it already came equipped with the pool and a full basketball court and trampoline.
And I know you transformed, like I would say, a barn into the pickleball court.
Yes.
So
our heated outbuilding is, it is now equipped for the last, year and a half, I think, as a pickleball court. So we have that option for if, it's inclement weather. And if it's great outside, it's just one more option. Yeah. So when we found this, I remember walking out here for a showing to see it, and I thought, it's like it mirrored the image in my head that I'd been thinking about, for 5 years. It was occurring to me. My son is only getting older. His 3 older sisters are eventually, and now they are, all the way at college. And I
know you're just this side of empty nesters, aside from Augie, right?
Right. Well, and so now we realize we're not the traditional empty nesters, case in point here. We've got to create a space where we can get him socially connected. And the easiest way to do it is to bring it to us, where we set the date, the time, the place. Here, come on over, people. You want to play pickleball? You want to do basketball? You want to swim? And those are the types of things that we've been able to offer when we've had our big social events here.
Which is a great transition into, so here we are a year later.
Yes.
And I wanted you to share a little bit of the successes, both with the adults at the meetings, but also with the Augies Adventures for the people. So what are some things that stand out for you in the past year?
Yeah. Well, I have been able to meet so many wonderful people through the meetings. It is not, obviously we never would limit it to just Loveland. So we've had people that drive a half hour to get here for our meetings. And our meetings have covered any number of things. I'm open to suggestions, by the way. We always tell people, please text us, inform us. What do you want to hear about? What do you want to learn about? And so we've covered everything from, we've had a financial planner come out to talk about special needs, financial planning, specific to that. We've talked about laws that specifically impact this group of people. We've also had an occupational therapist come out and talk to them about these are things to do in your own home that can help build life skills and independence. We have had teachers come out and talk about things related to IEPs. That's always a really hot topic.
I was going to say that's one of the huge challenges for families like yours.
Yes, for sure. What to say, how to make sure that skills are being worked on. It can be overwhelming. It's anxiety provoking in a lot of these parents. Yeah. So to revisit that over and over every year is our goal. We want people to feel like you've got resources, people can explain things to you, break them down. Break down the information for you. We do have, like in January, we've got a guy named Michael Marinkovich coming out to talk about how
say his name again, Michael.
Michael Marinkovich.
Okay, just wanted to.
He's from OOD, which I believe is Ohio Opportunities for the Disabled. It's through the county, and he is going to be talking about, hey parents, let me explain to you some things you can start working on at home as young as adolescent age to help prepare your children to be more prepared for skills in the workplace. Like everything from chores you can start having them do when they're younger that are super valuable in learning like a sequence to follow, working on their fine motor skills, all these types of things that, he's a job coach. He happens to be one that's working through Loveland High School. Coincidentally, he was a job coach assigned where our son worked at Tractor Supply over the summer. So, these are real skills that are transferable to job situations. And so he's going to come out and shed some light on that and say, hey, parents, you don't wait until your kid is 16 or 17 and then say, oh, I want to get him a job, and poof, they're supposed to have this skill set. You can ease that, that transition by saying, hey, at age 8, 9, 10, whatever, here are some things, start working on them. And they can gradually build the confidence, and through repetition, those types of things. And it helps lighten the load at home.
That's another, Heidi, that's another one of those overlap areas.
Yeah.
All of us parents.
Yes.
Some of us whose children are grown and have grown children of their own, like myself.
Yes.
We might have missed that. Like we should have taught Amanda before she was 16.
Throw her under the bus.
But now. Who?
No, right? And
she's never going to hear this.
Listen, this is the thing. It's a lot easier to glaze over, and parents like picking up that toy room all on your own. And there's a time and a place where I get out of survival mode, you do that. But long term, your time is better invested on the process of teaching. And then those kids can do those skills. Recently, my son actually had to take over. We have 2 cats. And now that his 3 older sisters are officially all away at school, that fell on him. And he was quite disgruntled. That's a typical teen moment that I had.
Well, yeah.
Right? He wants to do cat chores. But I had to do the work for the first month, I would say, on a daily basis, walking through every single step with him. And at first, even opening the can of cat food down there in the little cat room we've got, that frustrated him to no end. And it was messy. Yeah. And we had to keep doing it. And it was hard on my nerves. And he was very frustrated and angry himself.
I can only imagine.
Right? Okay, so
I see the look on your face now. The people listening don't get the... I should have taken a photo then and run this with it.
Yes, we've all been in those positions where the parent is rolling their eyes, the child is doing that, the parent is trying not to say certain things out of frustration. But now, every day, I can say to him, guess what? Before bedtime, cat chores. And guess who's doing that all by himself? I had to put the time in. Anyway, that's just, just a small example of things that those are skills that transfer to a workplace, working at a restaurant, working at a store, that kind of a thing.
Well, at this year later, we're going to wrap up here, but you and I are going to talk some more.
Yes.
In the near future about what continues to happen and what's coming up next. But right now, what's coming up next is Thursday, November the 16th. Is it 6:30?
6:30 to 8:30. It's at St. Columban Church in the Parish Hall. And you
in Loveland, Ohio.
In Loveland, yes. And you can either go on our website, Augies Adventures, 1242.org for more information, or I will give my phone number out here because people text me all the time. I can take an RSVP or any questions. It's area code 630-254-8959. Again, 630-254-8959. Heidi Terselic. I'll be happy to take your questions or an RSVP. That'd be awesome.
Perfect. Heidi, thank you so much for joining us on Loveland Beacon Talks and sharing Augies Adventures story.
Thank you very much for having me here.
My pleasure. That was Heidi Terselic sharing the story of Augies Adventures, celebrating 1 year of bringing together special needs families in a very special way. Remember, Augies Adventures welcomes Ray Jean Connor this Thursday, November 16th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. at St. Columban Church in Loveland, Ohio. Coach Connor is the 2022 Ohio Teacher of the Year, and she'll share tips on how to get your kids off the couch. Heidi says this is for every parent, not only parents of special needs kids. Learn more on their website, www.augiesadventures1242.org. I'm Chuck Gibson, saying thanks for listening here on Loveland Beacon. Loveland Beacon Talks is a presentation of Loveland Beacon Digital Media and Gibson Communications, LLC.